Welcome back to Perkins Pipes. Got the Savinelli Bing's Favorite back out again. And there's a very particular reason for this. As I've mentioned before, my mother was a huge fan of Bing Crosby. And what we're going to talk about today has a connection back to my mom. We're going to be talking about different Bible translations. So let's get this guy fired up and let's get to talking. So when it comes to the Bible, I certainly think about my mom. My dad read the Bible, of course, went to church with us, but my mom's the one I associate. And she was always a King James girl, King James translation of the Bible. Matter of fact, this is her Bible. When she died, not too long ago now, I took this and it is one of my treasured possessions because it has so many of her highlights and underlines and things. I'll try to get a good page here, but she circled things, she highlighted things, she made margin notes. It's a very well-used Bible. In fact, it's written in the front. You see here, it says, presented to Patty by Grandma McClellan with love, December 25th, 1965. So, when it came to learning the Bible, reading the Bible, I really do associate that with my mom. So that's why I've got the Savinelli Bing out today. Now, we're going to do a little bit of a teaching on this video. So this video may be a little bit longer than some of the usual ones. We'll just see how it goes. We'll try to put some timestamps in there so people can find particular sections if they want to go straight to that. Let me pull up a simple little graphic I made for you about the original languages of the Bible. So the Bible, of course, divided into what we call the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament originally written in Hebrew, the New Testament originally written in Greek. And then in the 3rd century BC, a group of about 70 scholars in Alexandria, Egypt, which was if you want to think about the Harvard, the Oxford of its day, translated the Hebrew scriptures, the Hebrew Old Testament, into Greek. At that time, Greek was really the common language of the Mediterranean, much like English is a common business and governmental language around the world today. That was Greek back then. So these scholars translated it into Greek. And because there were 70 of them, and the Latin word for 70 is Septuaginta, or in later pronunciation, Septuaginta. That Greek translation, stay with me now, the Greek translation of the Hebrew Old Testament now goes by a name derived from Latin, and we call it the Septuagint. So if you ever hear that name or see that name in print, that's what that's talking about. And sometimes you'll see that version abbreviated LXX, which is the Roman numeral for 70. So that's the addition of the 70 scholars. It's a very good translation, very good, reliable translation. You say, well, why not just use the Hebrew text? The Hebrew text, something we call the Masoretic text. And there were still changes and additions, various new additions of that going all the way up until like the 8th century or so AD. Before it was finally settled, I think maybe around 1000 AD. So really the oldest version of the Old Testament is that Greek translation, by the 70 scholars from Alexandria, the Septuagint. Then you see that the New Testament was originally written in Greek, so it started off with Greek. And then you get to St. Jerome, who lived from about 345 to 420 AD, and he translated both the Old Testament and the New Testament into Latin. And since Latin was the language of the common people, and the Latin word for common people is vulgus, or vulgus in the old pronunciation, that version becomes known as the Vulgate. So that's what you've got to work with. Now, when it comes to translating things into English, that's not as easy as it might seem. So take, for example, I'm going to pull up some examples here for you. Take, for example, a very simple sentence that maybe could be translated, "The girl carries water," okay? Well, there's several ways you could say that in English. You could say the girl carries water. You could say the girl is carrying water, or the girl does carry water, and all three of those are slightly different. Then you could put the word "a" instead of "the." Right? You could say "a girl carries water." You could put a "the" later in the sentence in front of the word water, right? You could say "the girl carries the water," or "a girl carries the water." And that's just for something simple, a simple little sentence like that. Then what if you wanted to say something different? Say you got that basic sentence, "The girl carries the water," and you want to put it into maybe more colloquial English, and you say something like, "The chick schleps the liquid." Okay, says the same basic thing, but man, there's certainly a different feel there, right? Or maybe you want to say something like, "The young female transports the aquatic liquid." Man, that sounds very arch and not very, very smooth. All those say the same thing, and that's just for something very simple like "the girl carries the water." So what do you do when you start getting into history and theology and prophecy and poetry and all the things that you have in the Bible? Well, what you end up with is lots of very different kinds of translations. Now, I'm not going to go through all the translations. Couldn't possibly do that here. In fact, I'm going to link to this in the description below. I invite you to take a look at that. There's a wonderful YouTube interview with a guy named Dan Wallace where he really talks about 5 very, very good translations, and he talks about why they're good and why the advantages of one over another. So check that out. It's very much worth you doing. And by the way, as long as you're checking things out, we certainly appreciate all the subscribers we have, all the commenters. So if you like this kind of content, pipes, and some of the finer things of life, we invite you to hit subscribe and subscribe here to Perkins Pipes. I'm going to kind of walk you through 3 translations that I like. Then I'm going to come back and say a little bit about Latin and Greek and a little bit more. My advice, though, if you're looking for a good Bible translation, if you know a little bit about the Bible, you've read the Bible before, pick 2 or 3 favorite verses or favorite passages and just do a comparison. Read them in various translations and go to something like BibleGateway.com. You can pull up all the translations there. And just see which do you like better. Do you like something that sounds more like "the chick schleps the liquid"? You're going to find translations like that. Do you want something that sounds more like "the young female transports the aquatic fluid"? You can find translations like that. For the most part, they are all reasonably accurate. There's going to be some that kind of veer away on a few things, but for the most part, they're all reasonably accurate. It's about what is going to get you to read the Bible for yourself. So, one is the Net Bible. This is what do we call this? The Net Bible. I think it's New English Translation. I think is what it stands for. Yeah, New English Translation. And it's very, very good. A friend of mine actually gave me this. I've read it some. And I'm just going to take, with all these, I'm going to take just one passage. We're going to look at John chapter 1. It's one of my favorites. And just listen to the difference and see how it goes here, if I can turn the page. So this is the Net Bible. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was fully God. I can tell you right now, that word fully is not in the original Greek. The Word was with God in the beginning. All things were created by him, and apart from him, not one thing was created that has been created. In him was life, and the life was the light of mankind. And the light shines on in the darkness, but the darkness has not mastered it. Very readable, very, very good translation. Now, one that's gained a lot of popularity here lately, last few years, is the English Standard. And think about the English Standard. It carries some of that elegance that people associate with the King James. And let me throw a quick plug in here for a book by a man named Benson Bobrick. It's called Wide as the Waters. It's the story of the English Bible, the Bible being translated into English. And he goes through Tyndale and Coverdale and all the different guys that were translating the Bible, and then the King James men, the committee that translated it. Into what is officially known as the Authorized Version, came out in the year 1611. So check that out. It's a really fascinating story about how that translation came to be and its influence on English and on history and so forth. And that's been the one that so many people have loved for, 400 years. And certainly it was my mom's translation. It's all that she ever used. And certainly what I grew up using, grew up memorizing. But as beautiful as it is, not everybody likes the these and the thous. So it is the language of Shakespeare. I mean, Shakespeare's play The Tempest came out in the same year, 1611, that the Authorized Version that we call the King James Bible came out. So it's absolutely Shakespearean English. But the ESV, the English Standard, keeps some of the elegance, but without, the these and the thous, the antiquated language, the archaic language there. Now, this particular version, I will tell you, I really like this. Let me hold this up here so you can see. This does not have any verse numbers to it. No verse numbers. So you can just read it straight through. The original scrolls didn't have verse numbers. That kind of thing came along much, much later. As a way to help people really study the Bible and be able to find their favorite passage and that kind of thing. So if you just want to read it straight through, you can find that, and at least this is the ESV that does that. So here's again that first beginning part of John chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Exactly out of the Greek, although there's a slight change of word order, straight out of the Greek. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. It's beautiful, it's clear, it's straightforward, it's elegant. This is the version that my wife uses. She's got her own Bible, of course, but hers is a study Bible. But there's a reason that one is so popular, really because of its elegance and straightforward. Now, the NLT, the New Living Translation, as you can see, I've highlighted this guy a lot. Got this, a bunch of years ago when the church we were going to changed to using this as their main Bible. And I got to tell you, I love it. It reads so nicely. Now, I've got some margin notes. I've got some margin notes in here where I make note of some things that they translate ghastly badly, or just in a kind of an ugly way and borderline inaccurate. But for the most part, it's just wonderfully readable. And I don't know, the word just comes alive to me through this one. So here's again the beginning of John chapter 1. In the beginning, the Word already existed. And again, that's not really the Greek there, but interesting way to phrase it. In the beginning, the Word already existed. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. He existed in the beginning with God. God created everything through him, and nothing was created except through him. The Word gave life to everything that was created, and his life brought light to everyone. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. So as you heard there, all of those are slightly different. They all say the same basic thing, right? So I really do think that the main thing is that you find a Bible translation that works for you, that you enjoy reading, that you understand well, and that you can get the most out of. Now, as a classics guy, I want to have access to the Latin and Greek, okay? So I got a couple here that I want to show you. This is a wonderful New Testament, and it has the Greek on one side and the Latin on the other. So a nice bilingual edition there. You can find this on Amazon, I believe. It's the Novum Testamentum Graece et Latina by Nestle and Aland. So I find myself using that all the time, again, for my personal study and note-taking. Now this guy, gonna have to muscle up a bit. Okay, so this is a big, beautiful, handsome Bible, and it says Biblia Sacra. And what it has is, on each page, I'll kind of show you one page here maybe. On each page it has both the Latin Vulgate, this is the whole Bible, both Old Testament and New Testament. It's got the Latin Vulgate and the translation directly from the Vulgate into English, the Douay-Rheims. A dear friend of mine had this. I saw it. I took one look at it, and I had to purchase. This one. Now, for you serious geeks out there, serious nerds, I am going to throw a website up here for you. This has we'll bring this up in. Well, actually, I'll just go ahead and bring this up now and talk over the top of it. I'm not doing the split screen because you need to see more of the page. This is a polyglot Bible online. A polyglot simply means many languages. And if you click on one of the books of the Old Testament, we'll look at Genesis here. You see that it has the Hebrew, it has the Greek, it has English, and it has the Vulgate. Then we'll click here on Matthew, and you'll see that it has the Greek, the English, and the Latin. So I'll put a link to that also in the notes below. So just a little look at some Bible translations. I hope maybe that helped you a little bit. Love to know what is your favorite Bible translation and why. What do you use the most? Why do you particularly like it? Such a beautiful day here in central Indiana. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this pipe. I hope you have a wonderful day as well. So as Malcolm Guite likes to say, I do these little things in order at last to do nothing. Or as I say in Latin, Parva ut tandem, nihil agam. Have a wonderful day.
There was a man who walked the earth.